Okay, barrel or not, officially. This comes off of the Fiji event. Using the phrase, let's go.
Oh, who said it in the?
Everybody, all day, every day, anywhere you go nowadays. I'll go you'll hear people um, on the beach, like in the gym, like, let's go. Or they just use it to amplify something that they're excited about.
I'm gonna say no barrel. Anything that gets public usage that much that, like, for example, right now the word weird, right? Like all everybody's loving to use weird to describe anything, whatever. I think it gets attributed to Democrats painting Trump and Vance as weird, but so now you see it. I'll see 15 headlines a day that have weird in it. Once you start really noticing something, then you yourself stop using it. You might have loved that word, but I'm sorry, that word now has jumped the proverbial shark. Let's go, I feel, is in that category. On the surface, the word weird or phrase let's go, there's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
It's usage. And when it gets into the parlance and enough people are using it that way, then you got to stop. You can't be a joiner when it comes to language.
Do you know what I'm talking about though with the let's go thing? Like people
Yeah,
now using it just to like they're
let's
amped
go.
up on
Yeah,
something. Yeah. So they just use it and they're not actually going anywhere. It's just
no,
like they're
let's
hyped
go.
up and they're trying
Yeah,
to express that hypeness. It is
express it
so
another way.
annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
express it another way.
exactly. Okay. Barrel and on number two, from plucked from my real life, going to your high school reunion.
Funny. Uh, I'm gonna say it's probably a barrel. I've never been to any of mine reunions, and can't even imagine going. And remember sitting at the time, uh, I came from the Gen X, like peak Gen X era of like, I feel kind of anti-authoritarian, any anti-establishment, I suppose. And I remember when the class leaders or whoever they were sat the graduating class down and said, okay, and we got to talk about, are we going to have uh, our first reunion at like 5 years or you're going to wait to 10 years? Everybody just booed them so loud that I don't think anything, and I'm sure they have had reunions, but that was the general consensus in the room. Uh, I can't imagine going and seeing like people. It'd be funny, I guess, but I can't imagine it more than just being uh, I don't know, a weird passing novelty. I can't imagine engaging with anybody, but if it was easy, I don't see why not, right? There's nothing wrong with it.
The weirdness is the draw. Like
Yeah.
the idea of people who knew you at a very foundational time in your life is enough of a weird thing to want to go delight in for one night, you know?
Did you do it then?
So, okay, I've got a 25th one coming up next month and I RSVP'd, yes, I'm going. Um, and when I first saw the invite, I scoffed. It was just like, what a waste of a night, you know? And then I thought a little bit more about it. And I went to my 10-year reunion 15 years ago now, which is crazy. And I reconnected with one person there that then became a good friend in these last 15 years. And I don't think I was even really friends with her in high school. Like we knew each other, but I certainly didn't remember her as being a good friend in high school. But for whatever reason, we hit it off at the reunion and she has become a important person through, critical times in the last 15 years of my life. I've relied on her as a friend. And I think I've done the same for her. And so I was like, man, just that one thing alone is worth going to.
Makes it worth it.
Yeah. And that's another weird thing where the people who you knew in a foundational time in your life, I would never pick any of them as friends today. Like
Yeah.
even her, like I would not pick her as a friend today. But because we knew each other then, we are friends today. And that somebody knowing you at that time, it's like a cheat code. You know what I
There's a
mean? To like
there's a through line.
connecting with people.
Yeah, I worry that maybe my memory would get jogged. I feel that my memory is so sparse about the high school years. I remember some things, but I feel like I'd walk around a room and people would say, "Remember this?" And I'd be like, "Nope, I don't. I don't remember anything. Don't remember any of it."
I don't really remember any of it either, to be honest with you. Um, the funny thing is, now that I'm going, I'm like, well, I hope everybody's going. I don't want there just be 8 of us there, you know?
Yeah.
But so I'm messaging people from high school who I've like been friends on Facebook with, just like, hey, are you going? Or if you've seen the invite. And somebody said, I have no interest in reliving my high school years. And I was like, yeah, me neither. That's not why you go. You're not
Yeah.
going there to like reminisce and be like, remember the touchdown pass that I caught?
Yeah.
No, it's totally different. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Barrel.
I think barrel too. Do you want to relive something right now? I've got a photo I'm
Yes.
going to show you.
Oh, yeah. Is that you?
That's you.
What? Where'd that come from? That's not me.
Do you recognize that?
That's not me.
That is 100% you in elementary school.
I mean, it looks like me, but I didn't have braces in elementary school.
Did you have braces at some point?
I did in junior high, but that's not,
That's junior. That's a photo of you in junior high,
I
dude.
never had that cool a haircut. Did somebody send it to you?
Yes. A listener DM'd this to me and said, I grew up with Chad. I think it auto corrected to say Chad.
Yeah.
And
Let me see that picture again.
I'll send it to you. I meant to send it to you earlier this week, but I just figured it would be better on air.
I don't think that's me. I don't think I ever had that cool a haircut, to be honest.
Dude, it looks
Wish I did.
exactly like you.
Who's the person?
His Instagram handle just said Mick Scrooge. So it was a fake name. But
Okay.
I'll send this to you and you can review it more
Yeah, I'm
closely.
gonna have to review. I'm gonna have to look closely.
So for listeners, this is a school photo,
Yeah,
junior high school photo of what exactly looks like Chaz, and somebody who went to school with you saying
it is.
it is you. And he also said nobody didn't love you, is what he said.
Oh
He's
man.
friends with all.
Well, yeah, but is he sure that it was me, not some other podcaster named Chaz? I don't remember being well liked or ever having a cool haircut.
Dude, it looks exactly
It
like
does
you,
look a lot like me.
which also reminds me, it looks exactly like Wilbur Kookmeyer.
I mean, yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
you've been told that before.
it's true, and it's something that I embrace.
Yeah, you should.
I, I mean, yeah, to look like surfing's only comic is pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, final barrel or nah comes out of the Bethany Hamilton conversation with Tucker Carlson.
Having one on.
Homeschooling your kids.
Oh, so funny. I picked this up on the Bethany thing and I know that it is a signifier for radical belief, right? Typically on the right, I think. I think it's the thought is I don't want my kid learning about no tranny stuff, so I'm taking my kid out of school, right?
Right, right.
Which um, so now it is a signifier, and I think it took me. I think I've known in the back of my mind that it is a signifier, but it took me reading BeachGrit's comments to say, or the story to think, oh, this is now a real signifier. Like somebody who homeschools is XYZ, where I homeschool, and it's for absolutely none of those reasons. Like, so I am full pro homeschooling, even more now than when I first began. When I first began the homeschool, it was pandemic, right? And so kid was just, I think it was she was in second grade and she was literally just in the backyard on her iPad all day. Like that's how they did it. And my buddy said, "Hey, FYI, we could do this better. Let's just do it." And I was super scared to try. I was like, okay, like I didn't know. I'd never been homeschooled. Like it was all new to me. At this point now, so it's third, fourth, fifth. This is the fourth year, I guess, of homeschooling now. Just started sixth grade. You realize, and no offense, teachers, and no offense, school, you realize what a giant, giant waste of time school is. Like
Yeah.
the learning portion of school, and I get it. If you work and have to have your kids somewhere 8 hours a day, which is most people, right? Like I'm nothing against the if you school is fine, but if you could choose not to do it, your kid will be more enriched. Like I think, I mean, she can be or dream about or pursue being a like phenomenal ballerina. There would be no way to do that with school. Like, but I have plenty of time for both education that's better and for her to do a bunch of other stuff. Like we serve and then go to ballet class, right? Instead
Yeah.
of just sitting in a hot box of school.
Yeah. So Bethany Hamilton was pro homeschooling as well, and she homeschools her kids. Um, I know people have strong opinions about this, and sometimes with strong, I'm apprehensive to step on toes sometimes, or
Sure.
I make a claim about how you should deal with a checker at the grocery store, and then we get a bunch of flack from the checkers of the world. this is a scenario where I think even the teachers of the world at public schools would tell you public schools suck. You know what I mean? Like they'll be like, it is a nightmare. The bureaucracy, I hate it now. Maybe I didn't hate it 10 years ago, but I think the consensus is kind of in with public schooling, certainly in Southern California, where you and I are talking about. But I think there's an in between as well. I think
Sure.
there's a lot of people who don't have the luxury of doing what you're doing, but there's like, I don't think I will pursue what you're doing. I don't have the luxury of doing it, but I'm definitely not sending my kid to public school. You know what I mean? Like, and hopefully there's a private school version that isn't as expensive as the private schools of my youth, and we can figure out how to make that work. But Austin is starting preschool, and we're sending him to a Montessori school. And I remember learning about Montessori when I was in college, psychology, and thinking, hey, this is how I would like to raise my kids. And now that we're in that phase, and I looked into it a little bit more deeply, it's a solution. It's like, uh, I people probably don't know what it is, but it's basically like non-interventionist teaching. You give the kid a learning environment and you let them pick their own style of learning on a given day at a given time. You know, maybe they'll play with math related tools all day, or maybe they do art all day. You just let them do that. There's no standardized testing and there's no curriculum necessarily. And it's non-interventionist in the uh, idea that the teachers, if a kid's doing a puzzle, the teacher doesn't help him finish the puzzle. The point isn't to finish the puzzle. The point is for them to have intellectual curiosity. And the idea is that kids know how to problem solve on their own. Or if he doesn't problem solve it and he decides he wants to go play outside instead, that's great too. Let him go play outside instead. Anyways, they find out, through in the end, the kids are actually better at the standardized test. If they do take the standardized test, they actually rate higher than the kids who went through the standardized schooling, and they're more equipped to problem solve and creatively navigate their life after the fact. That's kind of the idea. But as I've analyzed the way to do it, we have a neighbor, a girl who's about the same age as Austin, and they're entirely different human beings. Like she's inclined a certain way and he's inclined a different way. One isn't better, one isn't worse. And the idea that you could get a kid who may be a genius in a given thing, but it's not part of the curriculum, and you put them in the school environment, the standardized school environment, where they're forced to learn this other curriculum, and that genius is never, not only is it not cultivated, it's never even recognized, and it's tamped down. And so then they get D's in the class instead, and you think that they're a derelict and they're not, and they carry that with them for the rest of their life, potentially in a worst case scenario, when they would have been a genius in a different society or a different case scenario, I think is a real thing. And so having the neighbor kid who can go into an environment and thrive based on her own strengths and or weaknesses, and our kid who can go into the environment and thrive based on the strengths and weaknesses makes perfect sense, you know?
I mean, and
So
I know it's a full luxury, like having choice and or being flexible is a absolute luxury, and I
it
recognize
is
that. But
totally.
if you can be flexible, or if you can give something up just slightly, and you're exactly right, there's hybrid ways to do it. There's all kinds of ways to do it. What makes me sad is sitting here. What it was, I think 2 weeks ago, like August 12th or something. The it just hit summer in down here in Cardiff, basically, right? I mean, it was like these days you're fully June covered with gray. Most of July is gray. Summer starts in August. These kids are going back to school August 12th. Like everybody fell in love. It's not year-round schooling, but it might as well be. They're out mid-June and going back early August, and it keeps getting shorter and shorter
Yeah.
and shorter this summer. Like why are we doing this to kids? Why not give them like some freedom? And I know again, parents who work and all that, it's like a blessing, or parents who have full-time at the office jobs. What are you going to do with the kids? But still, I don't know. I think if you can be flexible and create an environment that your kid can thrive in. And if you can't, if you, to me, that's just a great way to do things.
I agree. And the part of the reason I wanted to bring it up was just to destigmatize exactly what you're talking about, because the idea of homeschooling has become so politicized
Yeah.
that it's like people just have strong opinions when you say the word. And it's like, no, It's not, doesn't, I mean, some people are terrible at homeschooling their kids. So that exists as well, but it's not just universally bad, you know?
And I don't think it's universally a reaction to woke culture, right? Like, okay, I'm homeschooling now because they're going to be teaching that, that there's no such thing as male and female bathrooms at the school, right?
Right,
Like,
right,
or whatever. I'm sure there's a percentage of people who homeschool based on that kind of stuff, but I don't, it's not why I'm homeschooling. Like, it has
right.
nothing to do with that. And I'm sure if somebody saw me and knew I was homeschooling, probably their initial thought now would be, oh, this guy's super anti-trans.
Exactly. Yeah. The idea too, just on the most cursory level of taking a kid and having them sit indoors, like you said, in the middle of summer,
In the
especially,
middle of summer.
is sit indoors in a classroom thinking that that is going to stimulate any curiosity or intellectual curiosity, focus, any of it is
It's
insane.
insane. It's
It's
insane to me.
insane. I,
It's
as a grown ass man who has to sit indoors and work for a lot of hours in a given day, it's actually the death of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the scourge of all of my creativity and my ambition and all of it. It's going to tamp all of it down. So the idea of thinking that's a good thing for children is really backwards.
Again, if
So
you have the luxury to try something else, jump off the boat and try it because I mean, I don't know. I couldn't do it another way at this point. Like there's no way my kid would be thriving the way she is uh going to school. There's just not enough time in the day. Like there's not
I
enough time
think
or energy.
I think also if you look at the job market moving forward, as things become more and more automated and robotic, think robots take over, AI takes over, training your kid to be one of the masses in the exact same way is training them to not have a job in the future because they are ultimately going to be replaced by a more efficient robot. So giving them an environment like you're talking about where they become creative and creatively a creative thinker and a critical thinker and a creative problem solver is the only option they have at having relevance in the modern job market, the future job market.
Sure feels that way to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you're going to get your PhD from MIT in mechanical engineering, then world's your oyster.
But you still need our help to find a date. Brutal times out there, man. All right. Well, speaking of which, I've got lots of work to do in the matchmaking realm of side of my job. So I think we should sign off after these 2 hours of the Grit podcast. It's been a
Super pod.
gargantuan show.
Man, gargantuan, but not big enough to get on Stab's list of podcasts.
How funny is that?